And welcome everyone to another installment of RJG Games. And today I'm actually going to be talking about what I mentioned last installment, the MiniDisc. Now before that, I do want to do a correction from the last video. The last video I mentioned that Anime Los Angeles had moved their date to January of 2022, which is correct. But I had also mentioned that they had tried to do the event in December of this year, which is not correct. That's LA Comic Con, Los Angeles Comic Con, tried to do the event for December and ended up switching it to September of 2021, less than 2 weeks after they had made the initial announcement. So, big correction, actually, Anime Los Angeles did have their event this year in January. So they were able to have their event. I kind of feel bad I wasn't able to go. Actually, I was able to go, but I chose not to. And now, lo and behold, this is the first year since, I want to say, 2007 that I have gone without attending a single type of event, whether it's sci-fi, anime, you name it. So I wish I would have gone, but I opted not to. So correction again, Anime Los Angeles did not plan their event for next year at all. They had kind of put it on hold, and then they announced they will be having their event at their new location, the Long Beach Convention Center, in January 2022. So Los Angeles Comic Con is planning on having their event in September of 2021. So big difference between the two there. All right, so now I want to get into the topic of today, the MiniDisc. But I cannot really get into the MiniDisc without going in a little further behind, actually a much deeper exploration into what brought this media to be a thing and why it wasn't a hit here in North America. Because it did very well in Japan and other countries, it just didn't quite find its marketing here. And this actually goes back to, for those of you who remember this, the Betamax. Yes. Beta, as I knew it when I was growing up, but its official name was Betamax, released by Sony, the same company that brought us the MiniDisc. I know this one says Memorex, but it was Sony. Here we go. Sony that brought us the MiniDisc, just like they brought us the Beta. Now, Sony came out with the Beta, and at the time, its main competition was VHS, which was produced by JVC. And Beta was the better format. And very much like the MiniDisc, after Beta disappeared from shelves here in North America, it actually lived on for decades in Japan. With some of the last cassette tapes for Betamax VCRs just being produced a few years ago. So actually Beta did see a digital format very much like VHS did, but outside of Japan, it didn't have that long-lived success. JVC just had better marketing and better licensing prices for their product for other manufacturers to make. So eventually, Sony stopped marketing Beta here in the United States and just focused in Japan, where it actually lived on for many years afterwards. Now, around the same time that the wars for this was going on, optical media was being produced. And when we mention optical media, a lot of times people think about compact discs. Well, it's true, the compact disc did start its how you say, their research and development back in the 70s. And actually, CDs were produced by Philips and Sony. It was kind of like a joint venture. They both got together and started developing the compact disc. But they weren't the first ones to release to the market. Actually, MCA, which is, I have a cheat sheet here, by the way, in case anybody's wondering why I'm looking to the side here. MCA, Music Corporation of America, released the first optical media to the market, and it wasn't music. You know, for a company called Music Corporation of America, they actually released Laserdiscs, which was much better quality than the video cassette tapes. So they released these, and very much like the mini, sorry, very much like the mini disc. The marketing didn't quite get it up and running, but it had a lot to do because of its price. It was really expensive, but unlike the mini disc, actually laser discs, they stuck around for a while, especially for educational purposes. A lot of schools made a lot of good use of the multimedia functions that Laserdisc had to offer. So if you went to college in the 80s and early 90s, you might have seen one of your professors pop in a Laserdisc, which were these huge discs that look like this, basically a giant CD. And these came out in the 70s. So compact discs didn't have their official release until 1982. So that was after these monstrous things came out. The nice thing about Laserdisc is that even after DVDs came out, there were still a lot of movies that had not been released on DVD. And this was the best format that you could see those movies in. Star Wars didn't get a DVD release for many, many years after DVD was a thing. So a lot of people had to buy the Star Wars trilogy in Laserdisc to get the best resolution out there possible. So let me put this one away here, and I'm going to be talking about DVD. And here we go. I decided to grab this one because I like basketball. Great movie. Not going to talk about the movie though. I'm going to talk about DVD, which was developed by Sony. So after their defeat with the Betamax, they decided to release this right here. They had been working on this for years, basically the same concept as the compact disc, but to be able to compress data in order to be able to actually store video in MPEG. I believe it was MPEG 1 format. Now before this, funny thing, the next best thing we had between DVDs and Laserdiscs were VCDs, video compact discs. These had a very limited release, and they were more popular internationally. This was like the alternative to DVD. These were marketed to countries where DVD was a little too expensive, but this was right at the right price range. So when DVD players came down in price and were available there, they actually made them backwards compatible to be able to play video CDs. Now, a lot of those were released here, but they never really caught up. VHS still had the corner of the market there, and these were basically more like for nerds like me. The cool thing about being able to play these, you could play them on your computers. As long as you had a CD-ROM or a CD rewritable, you were able to watch video CDs. Even I remember when before DVD burners were a thing, before you could actually burn your own DVDs, I used to burn home videos onto video CDs on regular CDRs. You just burned them in VCD format, and you were able to play them on a DVD player. Of course, all that took a back seat as soon as DVD burners started coming out, and thus ushering the way for the popularity of DVD players. So DVD took over the market, and it seemed like it was going to be there for a while, which it did, and it still is. DVDs are still being offered out there. If you go pretty much anywhere they sell digital media movies, you can go to Redbox and rent a DVD as opposed to a Blu-ray. So it's stuck around quite a bit. Now, the other thing that helps solidify DVD formats, even after the players came out, was making a player more affordable by bundling it with the PlayStation 2. As opposed to the Xbox, you did not need to buy a dongle and a remote control in order to be able to play DVDs on your PS2. Um, with the Xbox, you had to spend an extra $20 to $25 for that add-on in order to be able to do what the PS2 did right out of the box. So that was a very good marketing scheme because basically the PS2 was priced just a little bit above DVD players, which made it very, very, very compelling to buy a PS2 instead of buying a DVD player. So that was good marketing from Sony. They kind of learned their lesson from Beta versus VHS, which leads me to the next format here. Years later, another format war started between Blu-ray and HD DVD. Blu-ray was Sony's next step on optical media from DVD. And basically, what ended up happening is that they did not want to go the way they did with Beta when they were competing with Toshiba, who released their HD DVD format. So when Blu-ray won the format war, what HD DVD basically ended up happening is that all these titles went on clearance everywhere, on Amazon, on back then Circuit City, at Best Buy. So basically every retailer that had these were just trying to get rid of them. So I was able to pick up a lot of these movies for 99 cents, $1.99. So I have a very big collection of HD DVDs. That was a good format, really good format, good compression. But Sony marketed the Blu-ray in a way that Toshiba wasn't able to. What they did is they released the PlayStation 3 with a Blu-ray optical disc drive, which the Xbox 360 didn't have. And the other advantage of having a built-in Blu-ray optical drive on the PS3 is that a lot of games were able to be developed in such a way to make use of the mass storage that Blu-ray had to offer. Imagine 25 gigabytes on a single layer, 50 gigabytes on a dual layer disc. So the quality of the games were that much better. The worlds could be that much more bigger and immersive. It was just good marketing from Sony. They did a great job on that. They did not want to go the way of Beta or the MiniDisc. And I'll show you the MiniDisc right here. And the MiniDisc, very popular in Japan. Actually, they just stopped making MiniDisc in Japan just a few years ago. And actually, Sharp's still developing MiniDisc players. Now, I was able to pick up this cool MiniDisc boombox during a pickup. I found this one online for $20. And the nice thing about the Walkmans ones is that the battery life on these is amazing. You can literally pop in a battery on here and it'll last for years. I'm not kidding either. It will last that long. And here we go. This one's Maxell, Sony Memorex, and for those of you who live either in LA or have gone to Japan, you might hear about Daiso. Daiso is kind of like one of the 100 yen stores in Japan, which would be the equivalent of a 99-cent store here in the United States. But the difference is in Japan, a lot of those kind of stores have products made just for them, all the way from batteries to silverware, cereal bowls, you name it. And their quality of the products are actually pretty good. Literally, the batteries are comparable in performance with name brands. And not everything's 100 yen. You know, you usually have stuff go up to 500 yen, which is around $5. But nothing too expensive. Everything's within a budget. And I was not surprised that Daiso made mini discs. So when I saw this one, I got it with this one. This is a Japanese purchased mini disc boombox, and the guy that sold me this one, as I was getting ready to leave, asked me, "It's like, hey, would you be interested in a mini disc boombox?" And I was like, "Would I?" So I ended up buying it. It came with a remote control, which I can't find. I got so much stuff here; it's in there somewhere. but I don't need that in order to be able to play. Now, MiniDisc released different formats. Um, Basically, the long play 2 and the long play 4. And what that did, it added a compression to the discs in order to be able to hold more music. It's kind of like their answer to MP3, without it being MP3. Again, they use their own compression format for this. And some of these, like this one, this mini disc deck, basically will read that. This one won't. This came out before the LP compression format, which is short for long play, before the LP2 or the LP4 ever came out. So this one will not play any media that I compress, which in this case, do I have any handy? I think is the one that's in here is compressed, so that will not be recognized by this player. Now, during the time of the mini disc, other nice little gems came out. Like, for example, a lot of artists had their albums released in mini disc, like this one right here. And you can see on the back, it's got the all the songs written right there. And there were a lot of them. This is the only one I've ever owned, original release on a mini disc. So that came as part of the bundle of this. I got a lot of good stuff when I bought this, like this Memorex disc. Now, the discs were released in 3 different storage, I guess you could say, limit formats: the 60-minute, the 74-minute, and the 80-minute limit. I don't have any of the 80 limits, but 80 minutes. I say 80 limits, but I don't have any of the 80-minute ones. But I do have a 60, and the rest of the ones I have are pretty much 74s. I have some in storage that are 80. I do remember when I bought this one here. I found this at a Sears on the clearance area. This is before Sears started going downhill. I bought this in Orlando at a Sears. I forgot which mall it was, but it was just on the shelf. It was for $7, and right next to it they had a jewel case with 5 Sony MiniDiscs that were 80 minutes each, and I got that for $5. So I picked them up. This is the nicest one I've owned. The only difference is that this is all plastic. It was really meant for, if you're going to go running and stuff. But it has the same battery capacity. You can put a battery on this, and a couple of years later, it's still playing. Pretty amazing. The difference is, though, between these two is that this one does not have an input for external power as opposed to this one. This one does. It's this tiny little one right there, DC in, 3 volts. Goes right in there. This one doesn't have that. This is battery only operated. But this one has a USB connector, which allows you to connect it to your computer, and it came with proprietary software that would do the compression ratio. You could do just regular recordings, you just use the regular 60, 74, or 80 minutes that each one had, or you can use a compression for LP2, or if you wanted to put even more songs in there, the long play 4 format. Now this one, this is the funny thing about this. This one does not have a USB connection, but it will play the LP formats, LP2 and LP4, as it's written right there. So this was meant more for if you had something like this at home to, to compress your disc, your mini disc into, then you can take this on the go and be able to listen to them. Now, this did have an optical line in, so you could actually output an optical cable connected to this and be able to record optical, very clear music onto this, which when I was in college came in very handy. That's the thing. When I was in college, I took radio production. I took that for actually 2 years, 4 semesters. And the media that we used in college to turn in our projects was mini disc. We could go to the library, and they sold these at a very affordable price for the students. And this was our professor's choice, personal favorite choice for us to turn in our projects. So that's the real way that I got exposed to mini discs. because I went to college and I used them. I loved the format so much that I became such a fan of it. Now, after this format died down, this wasn't the last we saw of the mini disc concept. A lot of you might remember, if you ever owned one of these babies, a PSP. As I was showing you guys these, you probably thought that it looked kind of familiar, because basically what they did, they reformatted the case and made these right here. Now this one I picked up during one of my trips in Japan, and it's only region locked for movies. So I did buy a movie with it, Starship Troopers. But the games are pretty much region free, so you can play any game from any region on these on the PSP console, handheld console. But yeah, look at these Starship Troopers, Project Diva. See, we were going to talk about video games. Now, PSP didn't fare well, but we did see a little bit of a concept here that made its way around to portable, recordable video media. And basically what this is a DVD burner, but it doesn't take full-size DVDs, as you notice. It's actually small, so it takes the mini DVDs to record in them. And those things are very small, about this big, which still hold more information than what a mini DVD tape could hold. So I was lucky enough to find these at a Goodwill, and I bought these in separate occasions, and these are blank, never recorded. I'm probably going to hold on to them just like that. Now this one was made by Hitachi, but they did come out pretty much for Sony and JVC. Pretty much any company that developed a camcorder came out with these versions as well. Now this was a hybrid one, so basically it means that it's two separate formats. So it's the you can record things on your DVD, but if you choose, you can record into the onboard hard disk drive on here. And I actually recorded from my last ALA that I went to. I recorded with this on the hard drive. The quality is really, really good. Now I didn't use the mini DVD on here because at the time I hadn't found these yet, so I didn't have any DVD media to record these with. Now this DVD media was, in a way, you could say an inspiration by the mini disc. Basically, when DVDs came out, Sony looked at what they had done with the mini disc as opposed to the CD. Shrink it down and put it in a case. The next step they did, they put it into the PSP, and then they said, hey, we can do the same for DVDs. And another company took advantage of that transition, and that was Nintendo with the GameCube. So the GameCube games are mini DVDs. That's all they are. So the discs weren't able to hold as much information as a full DVD game on the Xbox or on the PlayStation 2, but it did the trick. A lot of their games ended up being recorded onto 2 discs. Some of them, not a lot. Some of them were recorded onto 3, but mostly no more than 2. And that's how that happened. It was a very trying time for Nintendo when they came out with the GameCube. The GameCube itself wasn't that big of a hit, but it took a little bit of a while to become a retro fan favorite. They released a lot of good games for that. So I think that pretty much covers the history and what ended up happening to the mini disc. The mini disc is honestly, like I said, one of my favorite formats. Now, the one thing about a lot of these, how do you call these consoles? I guess big old mini disc players they went with your stereo system, is that with a lot of optical media, these things dry out and they break. And I'll show you right here what I mean. I'll take them them out here. I'll grab one that's small enough. Here we go. These little suckers right here, the band. And a lot of times, what a lot of people will do, they can grab a rubber band and replace them. But those will dry out even faster and break. So if you ever buy one of these and there's an issue with them that it won't play or it won't eject, this one, the main problem with this one is that it won't eject the disc. It'll take it in just fine, but it won't eject it because this thing was so old that it broke. And that's how it found its way to a thrift shop, because the owners didn't want to mess with it, didn't want to replace this part. But I went in there and kind of looked around and saw that this was missing, and did a little research online, and sure enough, this is the part it needs. DVD burners will do that. The part will just flake, especially if you have it in storage in an area that's kind of dry. It's like these things need to be in a home environment in order to thrive and survive. So, keep your electronics at home if possible, in storage, even in a temperature control environment. These things will dry up, and sooner or later you're going to have to replace them. You can find these on Amazon. I got this bag that had a whole bunch of different size ones, because my Laserdisc player takes these right here. So I was able to find a good deal for $3 and get this nice little bag, and I'm pretty sure it'll last me a while. It has 50 total, varying in sizes for DVD drives, Laserdisc, and mini discs. So we're at the end of this installment of RJG Games, and I just want to mention one more thing. This has nothing to do with optical media, but this is a game I was able to pick up on eBay recently, and it arrived in the box. The disc is in amazing condition, and it loads just perfectly on my Atari 800. And even more than that, it came with the original instructions book and this nice little, oh wow, you could actually order for an iron-on transfer for your t-shirts for Saxon. Now, this is a game that I never owned as a kid, but wow, I mean, being able to have this is pretty cool. So I got the order away for the press-on, the limited warranty, instructions, perfectly well-preserved disc, and a box in amazing condition. I mean, finds like these, and the price I got it for, it was a steal. The guy made me an offer. He saw that I had looked at it. That's one thing eBay does now. They're able to tell who's been looking at their products. So in case the auction is coming to an end, they'll say, "Hey, I'll take $250 off of it," and then you counter offer and say, "How about take $5 off?" And for me, that counter offer proved to be a very good counter offer, and I got it. So, all right, guys. Thanks for watching the show. I'm gonna be bringing more to you soon. Holiday season is upon us, so guys, happy holidays. We got Christmas and New Year's coming up, so please, everybody out there, have a safe and happy holiday season. Be kind. Rewind.